Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a look at the forces that shaped Mamata Banerjee. We're drawing on a really interesting discussion from the Insights for Us podcast.
Yeah, and what makes her story, stand out is that she didn't exactly come from the usual places, not from established political families or anything like
Right.
that.
No traditional power structures.
Exactly. The source describes someone from a lower middle class Bengali background, fueled by, and this is their phrase, raw, unfiltered grit and a fire that simply refuses to dim. It's quite evocative.
It really is. So the mission for us today, and for you listening, is to unpack that. How did that background, that fire, propel her rise in Indian politics?
hmm
What principles were really driving her? And maybe can we find insights there that go beyond just politics?
That's the core question, absolutely. And the Insights for Us conversation, it highlights a few key ideas. The first one they talk about is this principle of relentless tenacity.
Okay, tenacity. That seems...
Well,
Well, her life is almost a textbook example, right? You think about her going up against these huge political powers, navigating a very male-dominated field.
and the physical attacks, too.
Yeah, even facing physical assaults. And through all that, just never backing down.
And it wasn't just passive endurance. The source points out how proactive she was.
Mm.
Think about the protests in Singer and Nandigram against land grabs.
Right.
She was often marching, sometimes apparently just on her own initiative, right
Huh.
into these really tense spots.
Without waiting for backup or public opinion to form first.
Exactly. Acting on conviction, not waiting for permission. It shows, well, incredible drive.
It really does. Okay, so that's tenacity. The second principle the source mentions is ground level leadership.
Ah, yes.
This idea of staying connected seems so vital, but maybe easy to lose.
It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a common challenge, isn't it? Leaders can become quite distant from the people they actually serve. But Banerjee, the source argues, consciously did the opposite, cultivated this accessible image.
Like the simple Saris, choosing not to live in luxury.
Right, living among the people she represented. That's a powerful statement.
And the party symbol, too. The flower and grass.
Yeah, they present that as symbolic of this connection. Deep roots, grassroots. The argument is that this authenticity, this perceived genuineness, it built fierce loyalty.
Because people believed her fight was their fight, not just for her own gain.
Precisely. That shared purpose, it builds incredible trust.
Okay, so tenacity, staying grounded. What's the third one?
The third principle is identity without apology.
Identity without apology. Interesting. What does that mean in her context?
Well, it's about embracing the parts of you that might seem contradictory, not trying to fit a certain mold.
Mm.
The source points out these apparent contradictions in her.
Like being a woman in such a male-dominated space.
Yes, and a strong regional leader making noise on the national stage. Also, being an artist, a poet.
In the rough and tumble world of politics.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And the lesson there, maybe, is that you don't have to choose. You don't have to pick between being, say, soft and strong or cultured and politically powerful.
You can bring your whole self to the table.
That's the idea. Your whole identity can actually be a source of strength.
And it's crucial, I think, that the source Insights for Us isn't saying she's perfect.
No, not at all.
They're honoring her for being unyielding, for sticking to her guns, not for being flawless.
Exactly. And thinking about you, the listener, these principles,
Yeah.
they aren't just for politicians, are they? Courage, that tenacity we talked about, putting people first.
That ground level connection.
Right. That kind of leadership is valuable anywhere. The source even calls people like this everyday giants.
Everyday giants. I like that. So the real takeaway here seems to be that powerful messages, real impact.
Hmm.
It can come from voices that just refuse to be silenced, no matter the obstacles.
Yeah, her story really does underscore the power of, well, sheer conviction and that genuine connection.
Okay, so on that note, here's something to maybe mull over. Thinking about Mamata Banerjee's example, what's a conviction you hold deeply? And how could you connect authentically with others to push toward your own goals, wherever you're starting from? What's the metaphorical alley where you want your voice to echo? Something to consider. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
If you're someone who likes content that maybe sparks an idea or gives you a bit of a lift, this seems positioned for that.
And where can people find it? The source mentions platforms.
Yep, Spotify and YouTube. So pretty much everywhere. Very accessible.
That's a smart approach. Audio for the commute on Spotify, maybe visuals or just background listening on YouTube covers the basis.
Definitely maximizes reach. We also get names. The hosts are David and Deb Aloba.
Ah, okay. Having named hosts, it often makes it feel more personal, I find. Kind of build a relationship or at least a familiarity.
Right, you get a feel for their personalities, and that can be a big part of whether you stick with a podcast or not.
Absolutely. The hosts are key. And there's a writer mentioned too.
Yeah, Ola Aloba, credited as the writer.
Interesting. So that might imply perhaps a more scripted or narrative-driven approach, maybe not just purely conversational improv.
Could be. Suggests some structure, maybe research behind the stories they share. Gives it a bit more weight, perhaps.
Potentially, yeah. What else did the source give us?
Uh, the copyright info, it says 2025 insights for us. And it notes